This is Modern Persian Food,
a culinary podcast for today's food enthusiast.
We talk about classic Persian flavors,
modern recipes,
and embracing culture and identity through food.
I'm Bita.
And I'm also Bita.
Welcome to our show. Hey friends, welcome to episode 155. We are continuing on in our series where we're back to basics. We started with a fun game, some pantry essentials. Then we rolled right into breaking down how to make a great Persian rice, perfect for your weekly meal plan. We had an expert come in and teach us how to make korma sabzi from scratch. And today we're going to talk about a delicious, iconic eggplant dish, one of many in Persian cuisine, specifically Mirza Ghassami. Now, Mirza Ghassami comes from the northern region of Iran that we call Shomal. And this region is also known as the Gilan region. One of the things that kind of defines and makes this eggplant dish different is that we char the eggplant, we char the skin, then peel the skin, add fresh tomatoes, traditionally loads of garlic, and egg. So let's get right into it. Let's break this down. Bita June, what can you tell us about, any element of this Mirza Ghassami that you want to share today?
Yeah, absolutely. Classic appetizer. Thank you for giving us an overview on that. Mirza Ghassami. It is one of those classic, iconic Persian appetizers / side. I think some of the really differentiating qualities, there's a ton of garlic in it. The smokiness of the eggplant is one of the staples of the recipe, of the flavor profile, is really kind of the smokiness, the char. So if you can actually smoke the eggplant on a grill or on a campfire or something like that, you're going to get even more smoky flavor. And that's going to be adding to the deliciousness of it. I love the egg element to this. Now, you can make it without egg. It's a vegetarian dish. If you don't put the egg in it, it turns into a vegan dish. The egg, you can kind of do it in different ways. You can kind of scramble the egg and mix it all up so it's kind of uniformly kind of in the whole Mirza Ghassami. Or the way that I really love it is with a beautiful sunny side up fried egg right on top of it. And then you kind of break the egg, a little bit of the yolk kind of gets onto the eggplant and the garlic and the tomatoes. And that's one of my favorites. And I do have to say, as we've been thinking about this episode, Bita June, I am super excited to this fall, hopefully, serve Mirza Ghassami for brunch and do a whole brunch spread with Mirza, with the cracked eggs. I'm talking about a kind of a big platter or right out of the a pan type of serving with all the fried eggs, a bunch of different fried eggs on top of it. And so I'm hoping to kind of switch this staple recipe into more occasions, not only as an appetizer, not only as a side, but you can actually have it for brunch and you can make a big platter and kind of have a little get together with some nice mimosas on the side.
That's so clever. And why are we always talking about the most delicious dishes when I'm so hungry? Because I feel like I'm salivating and, my speech is watery because I literally just want to eat that up right now. We're going to teach you how to make it today. I went through this stage where I made it 3 times in a row.
It looks so good.
I used the recipe of Nassim Ali Khani that we actually had on the show for our cookbook series, Sofre. I also tried something for the first time, which was charring on our gas grill. So there's basically 3 ways you can char. You can skewer your eggplants and roast them outside on the grill. That's probably going to be the most classic way, I would guess. Mm-hmm. Another way you could do it is inside your oven and just have, your broiler mode on high. And the third way is to rotate and char your eggplants and basically essentially cook them right almost directly on top of your gas grill. And that's the way I tried it. And it was pretty fun. Would recommend using long tongs. So what happened, at least for me, is that it doesn't take very long, first of all, to get the crispiness and the smokiness that you want of the skin that you'll then be peeling off. It's only a couple of minutes and you're going to be carefully, rotating it. But I got burned on my forearms.
Oh, no.
From the flying debris of the skin.
Oh, gosh. Uh-huh.
But I think that's just could be easily eliminated by having longer tongs and, kind of proper equipment. So
you're talking about getting the eggplant and putting it just on your gas stove, right?
On my gas stove. That's the way that I had been making it.
Yeah.
When I was experimenting with the recipe, yes.
Yeah, I love doing that. I don't have a gas stove now, but I think I mentioned this before, but I love getting that char. Like, I noticed that you did it with corn the other day. I love doing it with corn to get a little bit of a char on it. You can actually do it with like bell peppers and things like that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. If you could get like some sort of like char on the eggplant is probably one of the like key elements of this dish.
Mm-hmm. Smoky flavor.
The smoky flavor comes from the char on the outside. And then what? What do we do with the eggplant after that?
Well, I use, as I mentioned, the recipe from the Sofra cookbook, and you wait for it to cool a little bit, and then you peel off the skin. And in this recipe, you reserve a little bit of the skin and chop it very finely and add it to the then cooked eggplant flesh. I guess you chop it, actually. You chop it into small pieces, and you put a little bit in there, and then you cook it down with some oil and garlic and tomatoes. And I don't totally remember what form of tomato I used, but I really like using canned fire roasted tomatoes, and it adds even more smoky flavor in my opinion. And I skipped the egg, and it was really, really delicious. One note I would make in particular is I would cut down on the pepper. There was a lot of cracked pepper in this particular recipe, a bit more than my liking, but I served it and was able to share it with many people, and it was very well received. Very delicious.
Yeah. Sounds delicious. I love it. Yeah, you mentioned using canned tomatoes, which is an easy cheat to use for this recipe. Also, if you're going to be using the oven to maybe char your eggplants, you can actually throw it in a bunch of chopped tomatoes too, like quartered tomatoes, into the oven at the same time. And then if you wanted to just use that, chop the tomatoes up when you're chopping up the eggplant, mix that all up. And actually, you can also throw in some of your garlic cloves into the oven too to kind of get a little bit of the roastiness. Mm-hmm. But that sounds great. I'm sure everyone loved it at your events that you were going to. I think classically, bread is really the main way to kind of serve it if you want to kind of like have fresh bread and maybe some fresh herbs and kind of like make these little like lokme or little bites to eat. What else? What else could you kind of serve it with?
Yeah. When I had some friends over, I had basically kind of appetizers and wine. And so I had it as a form of a dip, and I served it with some lavash crackers, but definitely some form of a lavash or a Persian bread is a delicious way to enjoy it.
Yeah, sounds delicious. I love it. It's a great appetizer. Have it on the side. These other ways to kind of eat it for brunch or just even as its own standalone meal, with the egg on it, especially you got your little protein elements in there too, and lots of delicious vegetables. So this is definitely one of those recipes that if you are new to Persian food or you've been making Persian food, it's always a fun recipe to kind of have in your back pocket to make for yourself, make for your friends, and take it from there. Hi there, friends. We have a quick favor to ask you.
Subscribe, follow, and add us on your favorite podcast player,
so you can get all our episodes every week. Every Wednesday, we have a fresh new episode just for you.
Sign up and don't skip a beat. So we had a good question come from one of our listeners, Tamara in Menlo Park. It's been a minute since we've done an Ask the Beats.
Yeah, we were on a roll with a lot of special guests on this show. So we had some fun series.
We were.
And so, yeah, it has actually been a minute since we've done it. So let's get this back going. Ask the Beats. Just a reminder to our listeners, you can send us a question, email us, call us, send us a message over Instagram, make a comment somewhere. Ask us your question. What do you want to know about Persian food, about Bita, or myself, or anything? Just give us a question, and we'd love to feature you on an upcoming episode.
Yeah, if you're new to the podcast, that's what it's all about. And the beats is just what we reference ourselves, Bita, and you shorten in the goofy nickname.
Yeah.
So Tamara wants to know, she's a relatively new listener, and she asks, how complex is Persian food to cook? And are special spices and ingredients always needed? This is still Tamara's question. It keeps going. I have a well-stocked pantry for the various things I cook. Would I have to restock with specialty items in order to make Persian dishes?
Good question, Tamara. I think that that is a very valid and relevant question. I think that people who don't know a lot about Persian food, they will maybe be intimidated. It could be intimidating because there's a lot of really strong flavors in Persian cooking. So I could see why she would be asking that. And I think that many people may have the same question.
Yeah, and I just had to add on to that, if we're talking specifically about spices, I love the definition that Persian food is not spicy, it's well spiced. So it's not like a hot in your mouth kind of spice. It's more like an elevating aromatic type of spice, right?
Yeah, right. Exactly. When it comes to spices, and also when you kind of talk about like the richness of like tomato paste in some of the dishes, or, like flavors like sour or like limu amani, like, the limes and things like that in Persian cooking, that there could be things that have kind of strong flavors. But I think that when you look at Persian food, the basic ingredients of dishes is very universal. We talk about rice, we talk about beans, we talk about vegetables, and it really goes the gamut. I mean, when you talk about vegetables, you make stews like with celery or with okra or eggplant. There's so many different vegetables that we feature. So I think that without redoing Tamara's whole pantry and like shopping list, that she can make a ton of Persian recipes with the ingredients that she already has in her home. And I'm sure that she has like turmeric, obviously salt and pepper, cumin, some of these like basic spices that are already in her cabinet. Yes, we talk about kind of saffron and some rose and some specialty ingredients, but I think overall Persian food could be super accessible to a whole range of different types of pantries.
I agree. You don't have to change your pantry at all. I would suggest supplementing, and I would also suggest with starting with rice.
Mm-hmm.
I really would, because it's the staples. And I would recommend going out and buying a long grain white basmati rice. Listen to our rice episodes. We have some pantry essential episodes, and we have one with some guests that we can reference as well.
Talking about some past episodes, like, this little series that we're doing right now started off with stocking a pantry and what your pantry essentials are, that fun little game that we did. That was a lot of fun. But yeah, we have other episodes, stocking a Persian pantry, right? Early episode number 15. Another episode that you're referencing now, episode 82, cooking Persian food for the first time. We had special guests Mike and Rinny. We were guests on their podcast, and we had them come on the show, and we talked about kind of cooking Persian food for the first time. So, we go over some of the challenges of cooking Persian food for the first time. It's okay. It might be hard. You may think it's hard, but I think that once you do it, it's very satisfying to be able to kind of like cook a meal, especially from a different country and a different culture. So some of our back episodes will definitely be good resources on, using kind of some of the stuff that you have, or as Bisha Jun said, supplementing your pantry.
I would also recommend investing in a high quality saffron.
Mm-hmm.
And in terms of, the question, no, you don't have to restock. Are there specialty items? Sure. Get a good saffron, get a good rice. And then go from there. Start with your onions, and you kind of can't go wrong. You probably already have turmeric. You may already have cinnamon.
Mm-hmm.
You can really do a lot with what you already have, most likely.
Great. Okay, great question. So keep on coming. Hopefully we can have a new question every week to share with our listeners. I'm super excited about this series that we did about back to basics and getting the key recipes as you approach Persian food to have in your back pocket, to impress your friends, to satisfy your belly. And we're excited about next week. We're going to be talking about Mehregan, the autumn festival, and some things that we're up to about that. And that's actually going to kick off us talking about, Mehregan is all about harvest. And so we are going to be kind of talking about how to harvest and preserve some of the bounty coming from your garden and in the markets and in the farmers markets. And so we're going to be kind of talking about pickling and jamming and some herbs and things like that. So stay tuned for all of that great content coming up.
Sounds good. Until next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
You've been listening to the Modern Persian Food Podcast with Bita and Bita. Thanks for spending time with us. If you've enjoyed what you heard today, consider telling a friend or giving us a good rating. You can subscribe to our show for free on your favorite podcasting app or find us online at modernpersianfood.com or on Instagram for the recipes and information we talked about today. We'd love to hear your thoughts and see you next time.